Imagine the Attorney General of the United States placed under the glare of a Senate hearing, flicking between defiance and evasiveness while accusations swirl about secret guard deployments, conspiratorial cover-ups, and connections to Jeffrey Epstein. Now, add to that the looming specter of invoking the Insurrection Act to override state and local authority. This isn't political theater. It's a high-stakes clash playing out live in Washington, and its implications could alter the course of American governance. In today's video, we dissect the key moments from Pam Bondi's Senate testimony, unpack the legal and constitutional risks of Trump's National Guard gambit, and explore how the Epstein saga is pulling all these threads into one fraught drama. Attorney General Pam Bondi, a former Florida Attorney General turned Trump campaign ally, is being grilled before the Senate Judiciary Committee. Lawmakers are pressing her over multiple explosive issues. The handling of Jeffrey Epstein's client list. Did it ever exist in her possession, or was it a political myth? The deployment or threat of deploying National Guard forces into U.S. cities, a move that raises red flags about executive overreach. The internal dynamics at the Department of Justice, Deutsche mass resignations, structural shifts, and the sidelining of career staff. Bondi's interactions with Trump, particularly whether she acted on direct instructions or resisted overt pressure. It's a confluence of legal, ethical, and constitutional fault lines. And tonight, senators are probing every crack. One of the most dramatic lines of attack from Democratic senators was on Bondi's repeated public claims about holding an Epstein client list. Senator Dick Durbin questioned if she had it. Why hasn't she produced it? And why is the information already public? Bondi countered that she never asserted she had thoroughly reviewed the files and insisted that no such list exists under her purview. She deflected by pointing to Republican calls for Epstein flight logs, a shift meant to muddy the water. The Guardian. Behind this clash lies the broader scandal. Epstein's networks extended into elite circles, and many believe the full roster of associates has been suppressed for political reasons. Whether Bondi has anything substantial or is merely using the mythology of a client list as a shield will be central to how history judges her testimony. Perhaps the most alarming moment came when Bondi declared, "The National Guard are on the way to Chicago." She pinned this as a response to a threat of government shutdown and as a warning to lawmakers. Durbin and others pushed back, pressing Bondi to clarify whether Trump is considering invoking the Insurrection Act, a 200-plus-year-old statute that allows the president to supersede state authority and deploy federal troops domestically. Trump, for his part, declined to rule out invoking it, noting that the law has been invoked before and suggesting he might assert federal power if governors fail to control crime. This is a live constitutional crisis in the making. Deploying military or guard forces over the objections of states risks an unprecedented face-off between branches of government and between federal and local authority. Bondi defended the mass departures from DOJ, claiming many career attorneys chose the fork in the road to leave rather than continue under a new mandate. However, critics argue that reshuffles were engineered, leadership stripped, cases shelved, and staff shuffled to dead-end roles as a method to purge dissenters. Many personnel reportedly felt blindsided by the changes. Adding fuel, Bondi refused to discuss whether she'd had conversations with Trump about prosecuting adversaries such as Comey or Manhattan DA Letitia James, despite the president's public posts demanding such prosecutions. This raises the question, how independent is the DOJ under her tenure? And is it becoming a tool of partisan or presidential direction? In the hearing, tension crackled across party lines. Senator Durbin called Bondi's tenure an enormous stain on American history if she failed to act with integrity. Senator Josh Hawley accused Democrats of hypocrisy, comparing their outrage over Bondi to their silence on prior abuses, for example. Allegations of phone surveillance conducted under Biden's deal. When asked whether Trump's posts on Truth Social urging prosecutions of political rivals were directives, Bondi refused to interpret them as such, claiming she doesn't weigh in on personnel matters. Throughout, Bondi sought to cast herself as prosecutorial and objective, but senators probed to reveal cracks in that facade. Though Bondi is center stage, Trump looms in every exchange. He's publicly flirted with invoking the Insurrection Act, putting governors and state officials on notice. He has also entertained influencing DOJ decisions via social media pressure, a tactic that challenges the separation between prosecutor and politician. Bondi's refusal to discuss whether she acted on those pressures raises even more questions. Meanwhile, in the Oval Office, Trump is meeting with other world leaders, for example, Canada's PM Mark Carney, and making public comments on Gaza and trade, signaling that despite domestic turmoil, he's continuing to operate globally. These parallel threads, domestic power moves, and foreign diplomacy underscore that Trump's presidency is operating on multiple high-stakes fronts simultaneously. As this hearing plays out, several fault lines could lead to lasting consequences. Constitutional crisis. If Trump pushes to deploy federal troops over state objections, it could provoke a standoff with governors and the courts. Erosion of DOJ independence. Purging officials and resisting transparency may signal a shift to a highly politicized justice apparatus. Reputation and credibility. Bondi's credibility is at stake. If her claims about Epstein or independence unravel, her testimony could backfire spectacularly. Precedent for future presidencies. The outcome will influence how far a president can push the executive branch in future conflicts with both Congress and the judiciary. Senate follow-up. Will there be subpoenas for documents, Epstein logs, DOJ memos, internal communications with Trump? Legal challenges. If the Insurrection Act is invoked, expect immediate court battles over federal overreach. Deutsch shifts. Watch which cases get deprioritized or dropped, particularly politically sensitive ones. Public perception, media framing, and public reaction may tilt how senators respond in upcoming votes or oversight. Resignations or whistleblowers, given the turmoil. Internal disclosures or departures could dramatically reshape the narrative. This hearing is not just another congressional spectacle. It sits at the intersection of accountability, executive power, and the rule of law. Whether Pam Bondi holds firm or crumbles under pressure, the precedent set here could define how far a president may push against institutional checks. For viewers watching from abroad, this is more than U.S. drama. It's a litmus test for democratic resilience. Will the pillars of separation, oversight, and civil liberties hold, or begin to bend under the weight of one person's ambition? Stay tuned. Because in Washington, every hearing is also a battleground, and in this one, the future of power itself is on trial.